Hey everybody, I'm Scatrius. Today I want to show you guys version 1.1.0 of Vigil. It's now been released and I just kind of want to go over some of the features. I want to show you guys some of the old UI just for comparison, and then we go over the new UI, sort of see why I did this. So let's go over the old UI first. So what we can see here, what do you think can be improved here? So for me, on the bottom left, we can see we have those navigation buttons where you could switch a scene. So currently we're in the package graph scene, that's why it's highlighted. On the left, we also have the file explorer, which isn't really important to this package graph, so kind of redundant. We have the scene header for the package graph where it's written out with the breadcrumbs. And then we actually have the node graph for the actual important data of the scene. And yeah, we also have the sidebar on the right for the node data. So this is kind of all over the place. It's showing a lot of data that we don't always have to see. And things take up a lot of space, right? Which is the reason why this node graph is so tiny on this screen. That's what I tried to improve with this release of the of Vigil and the UI. Just trying to be a little bit more better with the UI layout and using the space that's available to the fullest. All right, so let's open up the newest version of Vigil. And this is how the package graph and the layout of the UI now looks. We can see the package graph itself has a lot more space. And the way we achieve this is with an activity bar. So all the scenes that have or matter are on the top left. And on the bottom left, we have the scenes that don't really matter as much. So like settings. And we can go back to the graph here. We can close the sidebar if we want to. And yeah, we can go to things like the dashboard here and go back. And the sidebar stays closed if you don't want it to. And what we essentially achieve is just saving up on a little bit of UI space. So this makes much more sense in my opinion. So you can see all the scenes that we have. So for example, here's the docs viewer for my specific project. We can go over here, look at a file. I can close this, I can open it again. I can go to some other scenes. For example, this is a favorites, the graph. We have a few new scenes that we're going to talk about. We also have the learn view. So what you'll see is every scene is kind of using the sidebar content now. Instead of always showing the the file explorer, it's now showing actual sidebar content that matters to the scene. So for example here, I can switch to, if I turn off scroll spy, I can actually click to different regions. On here, I can turn on scroll spy again if I don't care about it. And yeah, I can also just turn it off if I only want to read. So that's essentially it. Every scene works this way. The sidebar is now essentially optional. Let's go over the first new scene that I added, which is change review. So if we go over here, visuals are still a little bit in the works, but essentially my idea was I wanted a little bit of like a diff feedback for kind of what happened in the code base. So everything that's unstaged or staged that hasn't been committed yet will show up in stage review. And the cool thing is for Odin specific files, we can actually inspect the changes a little bit. So what has actually changed here? So for example, here we can see procedures, one change. The procedure was added, we can click it, and we can see a little bit of a diff here. So it's essentially kind of a smarter diff viewer. So here we can see there's a new declaration added to the struct. We can see a constant added. So this is per file. So procedure changes, constants added. Okay, cool. Here another procedure. And yeah, that's essentially change review. It's very simple. It works with basic Git commands, and on the left you can also see kind of a list of everything in short. So this is not supposed to be anything crazy. It's just one idea I had, and yeah, it's just one of those things which I kind of want to improve on still. In terms of graphics and also maybe in terms of capability, because right now this is kind of read only. Yeah, you can jump to like references and stuff, but yeah, it's not fully done yet. But I did want to show this off for now and want to see what you guys think of this. Okay, so another new scene that we have is markdown documents. So one of the things I always kind of missed was in the docs view, it was cool to have Odin files and such, but oftentimes I would open up another editor just to quickly look at markdown files. So for example, here you can see I have a ton of markdown files. For one would be my change log, where you can see all the latest changes. And then I actually have further documentation or markdown files. And basically this scene just gathers all the MD files that you have in your folder structure. So you will see here, I have like a shared one. So I have a lot of submodules here, 3, and each of these has like their own documentation. So when I want to look at Corbo, this is my UI library, I can actually see the README file for that, which is very basic. Maybe for MBG it's a bit more extreme. So yeah, you can see here it's just a very basic markdown file explorer. There's also you can switch to like section jumping, or you can go back to the file explorer. And yeah, it's very basic. This is essentially the same renderer that we had for the overview, just taken to be able to read your own markdown files. Yeah, in that way it was very easy to support. I think it's cool to have just like available in here. However, this does not support writing markdown, so again, this is like one of those read-only things. And maybe I would support this if there's enough interest. All right, now we're coming to the last feature that I added, which is the one I spent the last 2 weeks on, which is publishing. In my opinion, working on documentation yourself, it's pretty cool to have, local documentation. But I think the most useful thing about documentation is actually publishing it. The publish scene essentially allows you to, if I click here, you can see it very quickly builds the kind of an HTML file that you can open. So this is the site it just built. You can see it's in my local folder structure. And that's essentially the source directory that we just saw. And I can just open up source itself, and you'll be able to see essentially everything I had. And this is kind of built around the same idea of package odinlang.org. And yeah, we can see all the definitions. We can jump from things to other definitions. And yeah, that's the entire idea. It's called Varde. It's another Git repository I started for, being able to publish your own websites made off of Odin documentation. And Vigil now supports it, just being built in. So it's just using that as a runtime. And basically all the configuration that you see here is just it's just a UI on top of a JSON file that you can save. So if I open up the folder here, you can see it built this site which has the index HTML, a manifest for the searching, a bunch of assets. Then we have all the HTML files that it just built. On the GitHub repo for Varde, I did publish a bunch of examples. So here we have Varde itself, then the Odin core library, and then a bunch of libraries like Carl2D. We can just open up the documentation, and this is quite literally the thing that Vigil also generated. And so that's the entire idea. You're just able to generate this sort of data, or this publish, deploy HTML site just from Vigil. Now there is the incomplete source derived site, which mostly just means this is still work in progress. There are a bunch of features that aren't yet fully supported. So hopefully at some point we won't be needing this checkbox anymore, but for now, that's the way it goes. All right, so I do want to show off one last feature. So basically, I have added this option to pre-fill procedure documentation. So basically, if I go to a procedure like quick open row height, and I edit the documentation, we'll see it inserted some of the inputs and outputs automatically, and I could now start writing documentation. And essentially, this is the inputs and returns like documentation format that Odin itself uses. So yeah, this just allows you to like quickly build up your your documentation in a faster way. I could just go in here, test documentation. I don't know, it doesn't have to make sense, but without this option, this wouldn't happen. So if I would go in here now, you see this doesn't happen anymore. So this is purely an option to help you write documentation a little bit faster. Now, there are ideas to maybe extend this, but for now, this just supports the basic Odin idioms. So yeah, this is mostly helpful for quickly filling out procedures in the standard format. And actually, the last thing that I forgot to say is there's now a quicker way to switch projects. Now it's Command P to switch projects very quickly. So I can go to the Varde scene. This is my Varde folder. I can now go to Vigil again. It obviously leaves off where you last were. So I can quickly switch any project now. Or if I go to Odin. Okay, so this is the actual Odin repository now. And yeah, I can just quickly switch. It's pretty cool. So this is a little bit better than going back to the scene every time. And yeah, so quick results or quick searching now is Command K. So hopefully that isn't too confusing. So Command K and Command P. All right, that was pretty much it. I'm gonna list the other improvements or bug fixes here in the video still. But that was mostly it for the feature side of things. The publish feature did take a lot of time. I did want to make that open source so that it's not just hidden behind Vigil. So if you do want to check out the repository for that, check it out. We're still improving things there, but Varde is pretty much, done from a conceptual standpoint. So my biggest point was, and I'm going to make a different video for Varde specifically, but the big point was not having to rely on the Odin compiler. And this is what you can now see in Vigil. Varde is just integrated as a runtime library, and you can just build your docs. And that was kind of the whole idea. Otherwise, I do have some ideas or some things I still am playing around with. So for example, I'm trying to get rid of SCL3, but that's been taking up a lot of time. So I'm not sure when that is going to be stable. But that's about it. Let me know your thoughts, and yeah, have a good time.